Hello, this is Sammy33, and it's been a while. We've been patiently waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting a little bit longer with the delay, but finally the scouting update is here. Things are ready to kick off in terms of Madden. I'm excited to get the league play started. I have not played in a league for a couple of years, and I haven't really did videos or any types of highlights for any league play, honestly dating back to the PS3 with NCAA leagues, playing in the national NCAA Dynasty League, the NDL. Still my favorite league to this day. Great group of guys, a lot of work went into it to make it super, super special. Now we get to dip our toes back in the Madden waters, and we're gonna play in a league. So just to give you some backstory here, I found the UGL through Andrew Pays, who is a MLB streamer, a franchise guy, heavy franchise guy as well. I found it through him, the UGL, the Universal Gaming League, and hey, let's hop in, let's see what happens. I get the 5th pick in a randomized draft. I take the Bills. The Bucks didn't get taken until much later in the draft. When I talk about much later, I'm talking about like the bottom third of the draft. That Tom Brady being, Grim Reaper years old definitely makes it a little bit difficult. But I didn't want to take the Bucks. I wanted to be someone different. I play with the Bucks a lot. They're my favorite team. I wanted an experience different than what I had in franchise last year and what I normally have playing head to head with buddies. So I took the Bills. Thought it'd be a fun team. Josh Allen, they've got Stephon Diggs. My dad's a Vikings fan. I know all about him. Got a good defense, good corner, obviously a shutdown corner. But I wanted to do something different still. So I ended up trading them for the team that I will be taking right now. Ooh, this is going to be a weird one. I cannot believe, but we are going to roll a franchise with these guys, the Chicago Bears. Yes, I traded the Buffalo Bills. This right here, an 83 overall with a great young stud quarterback, the hardest thing in my opinion to get in the league, to two things. Josh Allen and Tre'Davious White, two studs that are extremely hard to get in NFL franchises. And I gave that up for the Bears. Well, let's make it official, shall we? Alright, so we've got the Bears. So the rules state that we must change role to owner. So we shall change mode. Or wait, I think it already has us as an owner. I think it does. Yeah, because the other ones are locked, so we can't be it. So you have to be an owner, which is fine. You can see the settings for the league. It's on all Madden. There are custom sliders for this league. Sim, pre-owner bonus off, owners only, so it automatically takes that out, which is nice. We can fire our coaches. The rule is though that you have to do it after the first season, so we all have to stick with who we have. For now, pre-existing injuries are off. Practice squad ceiling is on. Important injuries on. Important progressive fatigue, something new to this year's Madden on, and practice injury. So there's that. Like I did in my offline franchise last year, we have the cooldown and the play call limit. So 5 of each. Prospect stories are on, so that's important as well. Minimum roster 51. Player movement limit you can see there. The scenarios are on. These, none of these have been changed in terms of developing, superstar and X factor skills. 10-minute quarters. Accelerated clock is on. We have full control over everything. You can change. No reason to. Full control is what I want anyway. Pop-ups off. Don't need that, don't want that. I want full control over everything I do. And then these, ball hawk on, heat seeker, switch assist on. One thing that's going to help with this team is I have 2 viable backup quarterbacks that I can trust. Andy Dalton is somewhat reliable. You can see here the important things: his throw power and short and medium accuracy. I don't care about deep that much because I don't like to throw the bomb all the time. I need you to be able to make the throws you're supposed to make. So, decent enough power, good enough accuracy. Obviously, the difference is Fields has a stronger arm than those guys. The throw under pressure is going to be an issue. Breaking sack, obviously he's more mobile. You can see the big difference here is Fields got 90 speed, 90 acceleration. So I can do a lot with him. I don't necessarily like to run with my quarterback. I'm a pocket passer, but I'd be crazy otherwise to not do anything else with him, So he's going to start, and that is already an expectation I had taking this squad. We have David Montgomery. He's going to be our starting running back. I have him on one of my fantasy teams. Obviously on IR now, that kind of sucks, but good speed, 88, 90 acceleration. Sometimes the speed isn't the big deal. The big thing is, can you get open and can you get through space just to get open? So the acceleration, hit the holes, get through holes, I'm cool with that. Cohen obviously is going to be a guy that's going to get some touches. He is a super small guy, but he's a guy that you can use in space and do some creative things with. He definitely will have his hands involved in the passing game, I can assure you of that. You can see here his catch, 73, pretty much the same thing as those other guys. Catching traffic's not bad, but he's a faster guy. We'll get some use out of him there. Fullback, no one cares. Receiver. Now this is where stuff gets fun. So Allen Robinson clearly is the #1 guy. No doubt he's going to be the guy that the passing game is going to be built around. You use your #1 receiver to make plays when you need him, but also he should be a decoy to help get other people open. I hope that he will. You can see his catch and catching traffic both 97. That is just amazing. Really looking forward to seeing what I can do with him. Goodwin, obviously at some point, hopefully not far into the future, we'll replace him. As a Buccaneer fan, Brashad Perriman, got to see him in Bruce's first year with the Bucks. He's a speedster, but man, he is not reliable when it comes to catching the ball. 83, hit or miss. You can see 80 for Goodwin, hit or miss. Amazing speed. Speed will not be an issue. So Robinson, while not the fastest guy, is definitely going to be the guy to help generate some space for these other guys to work with, especially because they can't catch. I would assume, though, some of these guys are going to be looked at as, in terms of practice, we'll be focusing reps on the receiver position to help get some of these guys, someone else, reliable to be productive. Tight end, Jimmy Graham. Did you know there was a point that Jimmy Graham and Gronk had the same stats? Just throwing that out there. Obviously an older vet, but he is a pass-catching tight end. Not exactly a guy that you're going to want to throw in there for, let's say, blocking. You can see run block is 57. I personally tend to like my tight ends to be dual threat. He is not. He is very clearly a guy that can only catch the football, which is fine. Given the offense that we have right now, we don't really have another receiver that's reliable, so Jimmy kind of slides into that second role. He'll be used, he'll be effective in the passing game. His speed is still good enough at his position that he can play the seam and take some attention over the middle. Basically hoping that those guys, Robinson on the outside, Graham over the middle, can work a little deeper down the field in order to get those speedsters open in space short and let them get rack yards. Backup tight ends, Coleman Komet, a young guy. Not exactly a guy I'm super high on, but he can catch the ball. See 84. He's not exactly a speedster, but he is a little bit faster than Graham, but more importantly, he's a better blocker. A lot of 2 tight end sets. I like to do stuff like that, so Cole will get his opportunities. The big issue, though, offensively, is this unit here. So we got Jason Peters, who's old, clearly going to retire extremely soon, so we'll have to find... The offensive line is, I'm telling you, it's our first, second, and third priority right now. Jason Peters, left tackle. I hope he doesn't get hurt. Cody Whitehair, 80. Better. You can see pass block is 77, run block 85, so I'm cool with that. Going back to Peters for a second. You can see Peters 79 run block, 79 pass block. I'm sorry, 78 and 79. So I mean, workable. We'll make it work. Center, absolute garbage. And Sam, sorry that I have to share names with you. He's not good. Again, offensive line is my biggest priority. Boy, defensive tackles will eat against him, and unfortunately, we played a Rams first game to see that's not gonna help. Right guard, James Daniels. 77. It's not bad. He's a 3-year pro, so we can still work on it. You can see he has the highest rating so far on the offensive line of any one pass or run block. He's got 80 pass block, 78 run blocks. So that's not terrible. And then right tackle, we drop right back into bad. But Jenkins is a rookie. Also, you can see we have Jermaine down here, who's a 70 as well. We may end up having to move one to center just to try to get something going. The thing I like about Jenkins is a fit in the scheme as it stands right now. Big help. He's not great in the pass blocking game, which is not good for right tackle, but he's a good run blocker, so we can make that work. Now, defensively, we're going to have to look at some stuff because things are going to be a little bit different with this team. So defensively, just as a standard depth chart. So roll with me for a second. We've got Akeem Hicks, who is a left end. Hicks, and this is for a 3-4 defense. So you got him on one side of a vet. You got Nichols, who's a little younger, on the other side, 77. And then you've got defensive tackle. You got Eddie Goldman from Florida State up the middle. You got Tonga, a rookie, 67. Overall, not great, but here's the thing. I run a 4-3 defense, so you have to take it with a grain of salt. Hicks would be one of the defensive tackles, and Goldman would be the other. Those would be my two defensive tackles. Khalil Mack, who is our best defensive player on this team. He will actually be playing defensive end again. I run a 4-3 defense, like run a Tampa 2 type scheme. I don't necessarily like 3-4. It works. It can cause a lot of headaches and problems, but personally I like the 4-man rush. So you've got Mack on one side. We know he's going to be a handful to deal with. We don't necessarily have someone behind him that is a worthy backup. On the flip side, let's go to the flip side. You've got Robert Quinn. We know what he is, an older vet, hoping to get something out of him. Again, we don't really have a backup, so the starters have to stay healthy. Those are your pass rush specialists. And then in the middle, and then we're going to have to get to with the linebackers. This is going to create an interesting thing. So we got Roquan Smith, our best backer for sure. Obviously with Mack being on the defensive line. Great tackler, you can see here, 92. The thing that is important to me when it comes to defense, speed is kind of important, but mainly in terms of coverage, it is what is your play rec, which is an 85, when is your zone, 80. Need you to be able to make some plays in zone, pass things off properly, go from there. So Smith would be one of my linebackers. Trevathan, as a Kentucky guy, happy with him. He's a vet that we're going to end up replacing at some point. Then we've got Ogletree. Like, pretty much these will be our 3 starting linebackers. We'll have to kind of shuffle around. In a 4-3 defense, or going from 3-4 to 4-3, basically my defensive tackles are defensive tackles. My defensive ends collectively are defensive tackles. My outside linebackers are defensive ends. And my middle linebackers are my standard 4-3. So we're going to have to address the linebacker position in the draft for depth purposes. Corner, that's secondary. Not as bad as the Bucks, but it's not great. So we got Jalen Johnson, young stud out of Utah, hoping that he'll be solid. Decent speed, 85 zone. Already liking that I'm going to get someone that's decent in zone that I can build with 81 overall. Burns on the other side does fit the scheme. Obviously, he's not as good. So there's a huge drop off, 81. And you got 70, 68. Corner is always something I feel like you're chasing in the draft anyway. We'll have to see if we can find some way to improve this position. It's probably the hardest position, in my opinion, in Madden to fill. You can find safeties. If you draft high enough, you can find a quarterback. You can find running backs, receivers, whatever. Offensive line, of course. It's the corner that's a tough one. This is probably the worst part about giving up Buffalo. It wasn't even Josh Allen, it was this. White is a guy that I could build around. I can't scheme around Johnson, so I have to figure out ways to get these other guys to try to protect them and not have them be liabilities. The thing that does not help, you can see their zone covers, they're not good. We're going to struggle playing defense with this team. We're really a team that's going to be built on the pass rush, having to do some more. One safety side, we're definitely okay, though. Alabama, Eddie Jackson, no Cubs fan will be happy about that. Zone is 90, overall 87. He gets some flack in real life for missing some plays, but he is a very good safety in terms of man. He's got good speed, got good play rec, good zone, decent enough in man, good enough tackler for his position. He's going to be our starter. He's going to be the most important guy in that backfield. And then you've got Gibson Jr. on the other side. Don't necessarily have a backup worth anything in the secondary at all. We cannot afford any injuries with this bunch. This injury to either of my safeties or to Johnson would be brutal. Brutal. Kicking wise, Santos. Familiar with him as a Buck fan, watching him kick down in New Orleans. And then punter, you got Pat O'Donnell. So that's the roster. But let's take a little bit of a deeper dive into what we plan on doing with this team. A little bit of a deeper dive into what we're going to be doing here. Build a scheme around your stars. So, we do not know what his trade is. I haven't looked, so I don't know. I do know this, though. You can see on the player archetype down there. You have improviser, you have scrambler, you have strong arm. As long as you're within 3 of the overall, you should be able to upgrade appropriately. For that reason, you're looking at scramble, strong arm, improvise, and field general. I need a scheme that's built around him because he is the most important guy on this offensive line too. This will have a huge effect on some of the things that we do going forward. But offensively, typically I like to run a West Coast offense. So this wouldn't be bad. This really wouldn't be bad. But if I go with strong arm, you got vertical zone run. See, it's a better scheme fit. So for those of you that aren't familiar with this, a scheme fit means that when you train them, they get a bigger boost in terms of XP because they fit the scheme. If they don't, then they don't get that boost. So you're looking at the quarterbacks, and this is what I'm looking at here. Just the quarterbacks. In terms of offense collectively, the best fit is vertical zone run. That's obviously not the offensive run. Ultimately, it really doesn't matter. It does help for free agency some, but the other thing you see is in terms of offensive line, it's a fit across the board for all my offensive linemen except the left tackle. Something else to keep in mind, there is no perfect fit. And usually there isn't until you get later on in franchise. You have to make those things happen. So if we run the vertical zone run, you see it fits every attribute, or it fits every position pretty much except for left tackle. We're cool with that. Defensive scheme, this is going to be the one that's going to cause the biggest problem. I'm a Tampa 2 guy. So if it's the secondary, it clearly does not fit the linebackers. Ooh, we got our work cut out for us here. And the big problem is defensive linemen will have to be moved around because defensive linemen technically, we're going to have some outside linebackers come back to that, and we have to make it work, so that's fine. Now, offensive playbook and defensive playbook, we're able to use whatever we want, and we're able to use a custom playbook. I haven't put together a custom playbook. So for defense, we'll run with Minnesota. I need something that has 4-3. Normally I run Tampa, but you can see Tampa's got a 3-4, so I can't do that anymore. Technically, I could run Buffalo's. I've looked at theirs. Theirs isn't bad, but I'll go with Minnesota's because I like their defense. Offensively, I don't know what the Bears playbook looks like. I'm definitely willing to give it a shot. So we'll start with that. If things don't go well, we'll change. But that's what we'll start with. Go from there. But schematically, that's kind of what we have to do to make things work. So now if we go back, we're going to go to the depth chart. I'm going to see something a little bit different now as we actually go to set it. So you can see, Foles is the only one that fits. We'll work on this because Justin Fields is the most, to me, he's the most important guy in this offense. We've got to make it a fit. He will be the starter. Dalton, for now, will be the backup Foles. I would actually like to keep both. We'll see. Running, even though I do plan on using Cohen, I do prefer Cohen being the third. Williams will be a nice, like, I wouldn't necessarily call him a change of pace back, but I think that he fits in nicely after Montgomery. Cohen will have to do some other things. In terms of tight ends for fullbacks, I don't want my running back in there. I don't want to cause any problems. Definitely not trying to take advantage of anything. Receivers, the question is who's the number 2? Goodwin is fast. Perriman's a better catcher, but that means that Goodwin would be lined up in the slot when he's on the field, where he would be most effective. But this is such a tough decision. I don't really like either of these moves. Like, I feel like both of these moves are an L, but we're gonna go with that and just try it out and see what happens. Oh, we got Mooney. I forgot about him. I totally forgot about him. Well, never mind. We actually do have a receiver then, so we can slide him on. I totally forgot. So Mooney would actually be number 2. Slide them up. Perriman, switch. Whoops. Messed up. Perriman would be the 4th. That's better. So Mooney, I forgot about him. Young guy. He's also a speedster too, but clearly you can see better hands. It gives us something to work with. So we do have a second receiver. Didn't think about that. Tight ends, that's not going to change. Left tackle, that's not going to change. Neither is guard. The question would be center. So you have Daniels at right guard, that's not going to change. And you have these two. You have Jenkins and if I guess your natural position that I'd want you there, you would think that, but I'm going to use Jenkins because Jenkins is a rookie, so it gets him some play time out there. If things don't work out, that's fine, not a big deal. We'll look at this one later because I'd have to change some stuff and I have to make sure it's clear with the commissioners first. Corners, as we look down here, again, there's nothing. We've got those 5. That's what we're going to roll with. Nothing changes there. Free safety, definitely Jackson. Let's see, there's nothing else behind. And then strong safety, you've got those 2. And that's it. Nothing changes for kicking, but then we get to kick return. So, kick return. We will make a change here. I don't mind Grant being back there. I don't mind Cohen being back there either, but Cohen's kind of small. Mooney will not be because I don't want him getting hurt. Obviously, to be honest, I kind of want to make Cohen the guy. But I'll leave Grant back there. He's a faster guy. Change of direction is a little bit better with him too, but Cohen will be the second guy. One thing I will change though is third down running back. My third down running back is going to be Cohen because Cohen is a speedster. Especially in pass situations, get him on the field, let him do stuff. Slot receiver, we have Grant in that position, but honestly, that role is going to be for Goodwin. He's our fastest guy. He goes in the slot. Perriman would be second. So those are your 2 slot guys. Again, all the sub stuff we'll take a look at. Practice squad, don't have anyone on yet. But we will continue with the preseason and looking at a couple other things. Also have a press conference, state of the team, that kind of thing. That said, I'll see you next episode. Take care.